I'm Gab, he's Jules. Grey skies over West London, but not grey skies in the studio. Jules, first of all, happy belated birthday, Jules.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's get straight into these internationals because there is a lot going on. But I want to take a step back today and the bookies' favorites
For the World Cup.
2026 are in order: Spain, England, and France. And then after that, it's Brazil and the current world champions, Argentina.
Okay.
Now, bearing in mind that odds are often determined by flows of money and stuff like that, and that the World Cup is far into the future, and who's good now might not be good, they may not be fit, they might not be on form, blah, blah, blah. All these caveats out of the way. Are we in agreement that these are the three best teams in the world? First of all, Spain, England, and France?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would put Argentina in the same bracket pretty much. The Messi factor obviously depends a lot on how Argentina do and what kind of form he's in, and it's very much built around him. But yeah, I'll have Argentina on the same level, and then a little bit below Brazil, and then after that, the likes of Germany, for example. But yeah, those three plus Argentina for me are the main ones.
Right.
And if we focus on them three, I mean, you've got teams that reached the last World Cup final, team that are the current European champions, and the other team that lost in that Euro final and the one before too. So definitely the three best in Europe.
So when I look at this and I sort of project forward what I think the lineups would be, one of the things that jumps out at me, and first of all, I agree. I would have them all really very much on the same level in my view, right?
And Portugal a little bit, because we didn't mention Portugal, but Portugal a little bit below with Germany and Brazil. I think just below. Not much below, but just below.
We need to fulfill our contractual obligation.
Absolutely.
We have to mention Cristiano Ronaldo when mentioning Portugal, of course. So on the tube right over here, I'm thinking, all right, let me make a combined 11 in my head from these three, Spain, England, and France. And I'm really not being mean to England. I thought, all right, in my 4-3-3, I might have Declan Rice. And then I couldn't think of anybody else. But then I thought, like, okay, like Kane and Mbappe, there isn't much in it at center forward, right?
Yeah.
So it would be very, very close. Are you along the same lines that in terms of kind of outstanding individuals out of these three, maybe like Spain and France might edge it?
Yeah, probably a little bit. Although you could look at, I don't know, Phil Foden at his best or Cole Palmer at his best. Do they make your very attacking 4-3-3 in a kind of a number 8 position? Maybe. But
then then Declan Rice would move out because I'm still having Rodri and Pedri.
True. Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, it's probably tougher, and maybe this England team is less based on pure individual brilliance and more on the collective that Thomas Tuchel is trying to build, and that Gareth Southgate, to be fair to him, as much as I didn't really like him, had built already, and a bit of depth too, certainly in some positions, not in all positions. But the depth is really probably the most striking thing, and the thing in common of those three is that, again, not in every position, but in a lot of positions, they've got a lot of talent available.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the depth. And again, it doesn't perhaps go on to all positions.
No, definitely.
And so quickly now, let's give us sort of 30 seconds on each team just to identify the weak spots, potentially. For me with Spain, and I know the numbers don't underscore this, for me it's still the back four.
Yeah.
Plus goalkeeper. I just don't see them as great individuals and playing the way they do. You can pay a price for that.
Yeah, let's see a right back, Pedro Porro, Carvajal, a left back, Correa, in a World Cup, for example. And then certainly the two centre backs, maybe more than the full backs, but the two centre backs, whether it's Lenormand, Laporte, Vivian, one of the two of those four.
All right. England's weak spot. Are we also going with defense? Do we see a power?
Yeah, I think so. Unless John Stones can stay fit and at a good level, and Mark Gahey could be the right complement to him, which I think they are a very good pair. You just don't know with Stones' fitness, especially. And yeah, even the fullbacks area is a bit lightweight.
Now with France, when I try to... Okay, I saw Theo, and I know he played well the other day. I'm not a Theo guy at all. But I look at this and I say, is the weak spot... Do France have a weakness at fullback? Or is the weakness actually the coach? Which seems absurd given how much France has won, how successful he's been.
Yeah, I don't think the coach is... I don't think Deschamps is the weakness here, because this is his last competition. I think he would want finally to maybe let them play, give them a bit more freedom than what certainly we saw the last Euros. Right back, I don't think is a problem. I think Jules Koundé is one of the best right backs in the world. Left back with Lucas Digne, who is right now the starter ahead of Theo Hernandez. maybe a little bit more, although you can say that he's got plenty of experience as well. But yeah, that's probably the left back is the one position that it's not as good as the rest.
All right, Jules, we mentioned the combined 11.
Yeah.
Let's try doing this.
Okay.
At some positions I think are going to be tough, which to me suggests why there are weaknesses. All right. We go 4-3-3 because it's what God intended, and it's what France and Spain play most of the time. It's what England may or may not play.
Yeah.
Our goalkeeper, again, not a super straightforward choice because Unai Simon, if he starts, he's had his critics.
Yeah.
Magic Mike has had his injuries. Jordan Pickford has a million clean sheets, but as we might see later, a lot of it is against kind of the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Magic Mike because he's magical.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think he's the best of the three too.
All right. Right back.
Right back, your choice is Carvajal or Pedro Porro. We mentioned that earlier. Trent, I guess, Konsa maybe, or Jules Koundé. And as much as Porro is probably the best crosser of the ball in this list, Trent the best passer for sure, and I guess in a sense crosser. Konsa is a centre back at right back, who is now his position at club level. Koundé was a centre back, is now a right back. I would personally go for Koundé. I think the solidity that he brings, and now even going forwards, is an outstanding player in that position.
Is my love for Tino Livramento, who can play either.
So I've got him on the left.
You have him on the left.
Yeah.
So do I. Wait, let's go to right back. Do we both? Is our dislike of Cucurella and his hair so great that we've put Tino ahead of Luca Dean and Cucurella?
No, Cucurella is still my number one, but I've got Livramento behind him.
Okay. All right. Hey, look. I think the other thing is what we'll see with the Spain team later is also some of these players work. And look, you can't separate the style of play in the system.
Yeah.
They're greater than some of their parts in the Spain team. I think that's very obvious, especially when we get to midfield. Our center backs, one of them is going to be William Saliba, yeah? We're in agreement there?
Agree. Yeah, definitely.
The other one might be a bit more debate. I went for Marc Guéhi.
Yeah? Ahead of Konate, Upamecano, Kubarsi, or Laporte, or Vivian?
It is a toss-up with Kubarsi. I just can't get over the fact that I find that when he plays for Barcelona, because of the players around him, because of the way that Barcelona play, it's like he's playing a different sport.
Yeah.
And so I have to kind of imagine what he's like and remind myself he's 18 and be like, Pau, don't worry, you can get into the Gab and Juls combined 11 team and then for the next World Cup or even for the Euros. You got time. Yeah. But Marc Guéhi, I think with a team like this, you would want like a solid base in the World Cup. So Guéhi and Saliba for me.
Okay. I would have gone for Konate, but I hear your point about Guéhi, so let's validate Guéhi.
All right, midfield at the back. I know it's kind of a virtual thing, but we did say if he's fit and he's on form, anchoring the midfield, we've got Rodri.
Yeah, you have to.
There's no.
And really, the other options are Tchouaméni, who we love, but not at that level. Not
Zubimendi, who we also love.
Or I get Elliot Anderson, who's probably what you would pick from an England side in there. I think it has to be Rodri.
He can be in the 2030 team with Pau Kubarsi.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. For one of our other ones, I would imagine we're in agreement over Pedri.
Yeah, Pedri, definitely, yeah.
So for the third one, I went with Declan Rice.
Yeah.
It comes with a slight caveat in the sense that if they're going to play the way Spain plays, you probably don't want Declan Rice. You want somebody maybe who's more of a passer. But then again, Declan Rice can make those runs into the box and things like that, which is important. So I'm happy with Rice.
Yeah, I mean, again, the other choices are Fabian Ruiz, Adrien Rabiot. I guess you can put Manu Kone there. But yeah, Rice has been outstanding this season, really. I think he'd do well in this team.
If we talk wingers, it's hard to look past the two people who were first and second in the Ballon d'Or voting.
Yeah.
Those are choices, yes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, winger is not really Ousmane Dembele's position anymore, but for the sake of our little game, we have to put him there. So Lamine on one side and Dembele on the other side.
Yeah. If you wanted to go with a genuine winger, who would you choose?
I think Olise. I mean, the thing is, on that right-hand side, it's either Olise, Saka, or Lamine.
So
you've got three who really are all so good to start. So then it's your preference, whatever style you prefer. If you prefer more of a passing style like Olise, I think Saka is a bit of a mix of Lamine, not as dribbling and not as passing maybe as the other two, but a very nice mix between the two that you could have that on the right-hand side. On the other side is Nico Williams or, I don't know, Rashford or Gordon, really. So I think Dembele can have that space and can rotate with Lamine. But I feel a little bit sad for Olise and Saka, but it's probably fair if we go for Lamine.
Our center forward, there's nobody for Spain.
No, Yazabal, you don't want. Okay, fair enough.
Again, if you want to play, if Luis de la Fuente is my coach, maybe, but
he might be
tempted.
Yeah.
So it's the other two are pretty good, I think, in Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe. I've gone for Mbappe, but it could just as easily be Kane, yeah?
Yeah, me too. Simply for the youth. And the fact that if Kane was from Paris, I probably would be leaning, but nah.
So, in fact, if I were in charge, I might actually be tempted to drop Rice, play 4-2-3-1, and play Kane and Mbappe together.
I would love to see
more
that.
And more 4-2-4. We know Kane can drop.
Yeah.
One comes short, the other one goes long. Boom. All the time. And I've got Yamal on one side, and I've got Dembele on the other. Yeah. And I have Pedri dinking the ball over the top.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of work for Rodri and his dodgy knees on his own. But hey. It's not impossible.
But that's why I need Marguerite in there.
Yeah, true.
So looking at this, just in terms of numbers, we have 2 England players. Trying to see if my theory from before is accurate. We have 2 England players.
Yeah.
We have 4 Spain players.
Yeah.
And we have 5 France players. Does that sound about right?
I think so. And again, you could mention that Spain are right now the best team. I know they lost the Nations League final to Portugal on penalties, but they are the best team in Europe for sure. But they also are the best collective, more than, as you mentioned rightly earlier, Gabby.
So, this is where I struggle with this a little bit. If they're the best collective, then we need to praise the coach, Luis de la Fuente.
Yeah.
And we praise them. I certainly praised them to high heaven during the Euros because I said a lot of these players I don't think are necessarily that good as individuals. Like we saw at the Euros. When I say that good, I mean not like top 10 in the world or top 5 in the world. There's just so many really good players.
Yeah.
So that's the value add that the coach brings. And yet, for my coach, out of these 3, I would go with Tuchel.
Would you? I think international experience is so valuable. And you know that.
Yeah.
You know that.
That is a valid point. So your choice would be?
Didier.
Come on!
It's his last one, Gab. He's gonna do something special for the last one after 50 years at the helm of the French national team. A lot of finals, more lost than won, but still he won a big one. I don't know. I mean, I guess really De La Fuente should be the answer here. For the most current success in that term, for what he could do with the team collectively. Tuchel, there's question marks, obviously, but you're right. He's probably the best coach on a daily basis. And for Deschamps, it's more, if we pick him, it's more like the last dance and the last hurrah of him taking this incredible French team and talent all the way to winning the World Cup before he retires, really.
The last dance means you're saying that Didier Deschamps is the Michael Jordan of national team coaching.
Imagine.
So imagine that. Let's not build him up any more than that. More broadly, when we look at this, Spain, England, and France, you've also have, when we talk about their depth, right? When we talk about sort of production line of talent, what I find kind of interesting is I almost feel like there are 3 sort of models, if you want, of player production. And I'm going to outline them very broadly and simplistically, but we are talking overall here. I feel like England has spent an enormous amount on youth development. They had a blueprint. And this often goes really overlooked because it's not necessarily easy in England for a number of reasons to produce young talent. They spent a lot of money. They went around the world and saying like, oh, look, we're producing a lot of guys who just kind of thump the ball. How do we get more quality in? Let's go around the world. Let's hire coaches at youth level, consultants, and so on. Let's learn from them. Let's get best practice.
Yeah.
And now they have an array of technical players that, maybe Brazil and Spain have. I don't think anybody comes close to on the technical side without losing a lot of that physicality.
Yeah, true. And I think maybe even more importantly, they've got from the under-21s to the under-17s, the incredible generations coming through. It's impossible to tell now who amongst those teams are going to be, best in the world or what kind of level. But certainly they're winning everything at those age groups, which bodes well for the future, you would think, with those generations. So the future is bright for them.
Now, with Spain, I kind of feel that the emphasis necessarily hasn't changed. There's been more of a winning culture. I think Spain has produced, and it's slightly underrated actually. I think they've produced some exceptional individual coaches, maybe more so, not just necessarily winning titles at like senior level Champions Leagues and so on, although they've done that too.
Yeah.
But in terms of, it's like teachers of football coaching, and they've stuck to putting technique first, maybe more than any other country, over physicality, right?
That's always been their game, really, even when they were not winning anything.
But it's interesting then, if that's always been their game, you wonder why were they so terrible before? And the argument, maybe it's the winning mentality, maybe it's the tactical nous that's come with it. Maybe it's been the openness also to accept foreign coaches and foreign ideas at tactical level, and kind of overlaying them on their footballing traditions and footballing DNA. With France, obviously the secret's simple. It's just Paris, right?
Yeah, Paris born and bred kid. I mean,
Ile de France, yeah, that's
in
it.
this team, 1, 2,
there you go. I did
3,
set you up.
almost 4. This is it. It's just like, no, but it's interesting because we lost our way certainly, in terms of formation and academies at some point.
When would you place that point about?
Well, somebody was telling me the other day about the whole Laurent Blanc kind of fiasco when he said that we were producing back in 2010, 2012, the same kind of players in academy, those strong boys, very physical, who could run a lot and just didn't have much flair or technical ability, and that had to change. I mean, he obviously went too far in this sense, because he was basically saying that, we didn't have enough short white kids, technical, playing in our youth teams and academies.
Not enough Griezmanns.
Yeah, exactly. Probably too many Salibas. I think that's what he meant, which was wrong for him to say that. Maybe not the wrong assessment of where French clubs academies were at the time. I get that. And certainly my generation also went through a little bit of going for physicality and pace ahead of football IQ and technical abilities. So once you start, it stays for a whole generation, so a good 10 years, really, or even more than that, 15 to 20. They've changed that, really, and you see recent products of academies in France making their debut in Ligue 1. For example, Ligue 1 is the league that gives the most minutes to young players under 18, under 19.
It's the League of Talents.
League of Talent, maybe. And that has changed, which is good. But yeah, I think the potential from academies in France, really, and then players going abroad very quickly and very early to then be better in England, in Italy, in Spain, and in Germany is a massive help.
I think the exporting factor is a huge factor.
Which has always been, really. Let's not kid ourselves here.
But you see this.
France's strength.
Portugal is the other example, which, they all just leave.
So
it creates a gap. At a big club, you're playing in front of 60,000 people at the Estadio da Luz or whatever, and you're 19 years old. That probably is much, much more difficult for it to happen in the Premier League or even in La Liga. I mean, unless obviously you have these exceptions, Kubarsi, Yama, whatever, or if you play for Chelsea, that's a bit different. So I think all these things coming together help explain that there's different paths to getting strength and depth and different pathways to success.
So if I know this is very early, we're like 8 months away
You're not
from the
going
World
to
Cup.
do this.
I'm just going to say to
three.
you, out of these three right now, who for you is the most informed? So you can go into England and say, okay, Tuchel still has a lot of work to do. Bellingham, no Bellingham. Who is that midfield with, right? Whatever. But who would you say right now for you is
the closest maybe to what we'll see at the World Cup?
Yeah, right. and then obviously by definition, more likely to win it.
Right. I would have to go with Spain of the three. I would say France are in a pretty strong position as well, because I know what you said about Deschamps taking a handbrake off, but Deschamps is fundamentally super conservative, and his systems are fundamentally, generally pretty simple.
Yeah, but you mentioned the 4-2-4. This is how we're going to play the World Cup.
Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of that before when he puts Griezmann in midfield. It is still kind of a 4-2-4, right? But I think when you're there that long, you necessarily develop a stability inside the system, which might not exist elsewhere, which certainly Thomas Tuchel doesn't have. Surely for England, that's one of the biggest questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bellingham there. That's a massive question. The fact that he's a foreign coach, which, let's face it, when things don't go well, I mean, it happened to Southgate too, but it's going to happen even more so for this guy. So I think he has a lot more issues to sort through and work on, which is understandable because he hasn't been in charge very long. Mm-hmm. And De La Fuente, by the way, you can say he's only been in charge a couple of years. Yeah, but he's always been within the system.
Yeah, exactly.
At under 21
teams.
level and so on.
Sure.
And I think, that also impacts it. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would tip France to win it, obviously, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think if we go Spain, France, and England, probably the most likeliest. Yeah, I would agree with you.